Hallowe'en Party is a 1969 Agatha Christie novel featuring Hercule Poirot and Ariadne Oliver. We're well into this last decade, or we're getting into this last period of Christie's writing, and Ariadne features heavily in this, with Poirot as kind of a replacement for Hastings, who will come back in Curtain. This is a novel that I read as a kid. It was one of the early Christies that I read because, of course, as a child, seeing the name Hallowe'en Party sounded so enticing to me. And I remember really enjoying it as a child. At the time when I read it, I thought that the mystery was quite clever. And then I remember speaking with someone about it, and to them it was quite obvious. And it was an adult I was speaking to, and so it made me think that maybe I just had a very simplistic view of mysteries, or wasn't a very intuitive reader. The premise of this novel is quite interesting. Ariadne's been asked to help a friend at a Halloween party, and while all the preparations are being made in this old house, children are running back and forth and getting things ready, and they're hanging decorations. Everyone's in the kitchen, and this young girl named Joyce says quite suddenly, as if to impress Mrs. Oliver, that Ms. Oliver, that she's seen a murder one time, and everyone kind of dismisses it. But she says that she didn't know it was murder at the time, and it was only a little bit after that, or years later, when she looked back on it, that she discovered that what she saw must have been a murder. And so this, of course, has very little meaning for people until later on in the evening. The party goes off without a hitch. Everything is successful. There's this episode where girls go in and look in a mirror to see who their future husband will be, and there's some sort of a light projection of these different faces of men, so that they can see who the future lover will be. There's what's called a snapdragon, where they bring in raisins that have been doused in alcohol and ignited, so the kids have to pick at the hot raisins, and that's called the snapdragon. And of course there's bobbing for apples that most people do at Halloween parties. Unfortunately, at the end of the night, no one can find Joyce. When they do find her, we realize that someone has drowned her in the apple bobbing basin. Her head's been submerged, and looks like there was a struggle because there's water everywhere. And so then her earlier comment about having seen a murder seems much more serious than it did, and people begin to think, well, perhaps she actually did see a murder. Ariadne, of course, calls Hercule Poirot in, and he begins to question people and ask them about Joyce, because if you know anything about Poirot, he always feels that the more you know about the victim, the better your chances are of finding out the identity of the murderer, because you understand the motive better. What everyone resoundingly says about Joyce is that she's a big liar. This raises a question in Poirot's head. If this girl's a liar, why was she killed, when everyone would assume that this was just a lie, like many others? However, he decides to look back in the last few years and see if there were any unexplained murders, if there were any deaths that could have been attributed to natural causes, but actually, if you put a different spin on it, were actual murders. And this is where the plot kind of bogs down, I believe. We follow Poirot to different places as he interviews people. Christie does have a few nice bits of prose in here, but really it's just a very slow-moving middle of the book. And things start to focus more around Ariadne's friend, acquaintance, and her daughter, Miranda. There are some other murders in the book. There's an attempted murder in the book. And this Miranda girl is kind of an ethereal child who loves to wander around in the forests and the gardens outside of the house, and is kind of seduced by this young architect and garden planner who sees her as kind of this pagan elfin child, and draws her and gives her bits of folklore about what's going on. I have to say the ending is pretty satisfying. There's an interesting pagan quality about it that keeps in the spirit of Halloween. Also, I always love the way that Halloween is spelt with apostrophe en for Hallows Evening, and that makes it quite nice. The book itself, I don't know. Reading it as an adult, I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as I did as a kid. I'd say maybe 3.5 out of 5. Next up, I'm working on A Passenger to Frankfurt, which I'm already slogging through. It's an incredibly slow read, so we'll let you know how it goes when I finish it.